Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. There are two motors in your golf swing, and what's the betting you're using only one of them? There are actually more than two major motors in your golf swing, but these main sources of energy are the ones that you want to be concerned with if you're trying to hit the golf ball further. The first one I think everybody uses every day, and usually too much, and this is basically the arms. When you swing your arms down, you are increasing the club head speed. But to what extent are you using your legs? Now, I know there is a kind of a base feeling that you're going to use your legs to turn your hips, and your hips are going to turn your shoulders, and your shoulders are going to swing the club down, and then you'll release it through the golf ball and you'll have as much energy as you can. And the only way really to increase the energy that you apply to the golf ball is by turning faster. But if you do that, you're going to lose the use of what we call vertical forces, ground forces, which apply to the throwing action through your legs. And yes, you're right, I did say throwing action because that's really all that a golf swing is. Although we don't actually have the ball in our hand, we're throwing the golf club through the ball and out towards the target. And to get as much energy in this movement as possible, we can look at every other throwing action in sport and learn from that. So can you remember any throwing action, whether it be shot put, whether it be just bowling, if you were to throw a stone on the water, or if you were to play baseball? Now, I don't play baseball, but I've seen an awful lot of guys on the television who look a lot like this, and they don't do it like that. They're using, even with a step in, their legs in order to create forces that they otherwise wouldn't have. Of course, the rotational movement gives you a basic speed, which is then accelerated by this kind of catapult effect that you have in the release. But I believe that an awful lot of you out there are just not using their legs as well as they can. Now, in order to actually set your legs into motion, you're going to have to break or bend at least a couple of the preconceived notions you have about the golf swing. The first one is your fear of hitting into the ground. The last thing you want to do is hit into the ground, so the last thing you'll trust yourself to do is to actually take more leg bend in a golf swing. You're going to have to do this, though, if you want to get more power. Similarly, if you want to get the club onto the ball, your head is going to have to go down in the downswing towards the ball, as if you were going to bite it. And that's another thing that's going to give you the feeling you're going to hit into the ground. The second thing is that you don't want to be transferring your weight. If you think about the baseball player, I know there's an awful lot of guys and girls out there giving us these ideas of kind of stepping into it and then hitting it. And I think a lot of people are just forgetting, if you look at the baseball player, they step into it, but they stay behind it. They don't go over the lead leg. And that's one of the things you are not allowed to do if you want to generate enough power, especially with the driver, and stay behind it and hit the golf ball in the upswing. So in order to introduce this leg movement into the shot, you're going to have to break these two feelings. You're going to have the feeling you might hit into the ground if you don't do it right, and you're going to have the feeling that you're staying too far on your trail foot, too long on your trail foot, and that is going to confuse your brain because the whole of its lifetime it's been trying to stay as far away from the ground as possible and get over the lead foot as soon as possible in the downswing. So, how do we do this? Well, the very first thing is to understand where you're actually getting your basic swing energy from. So we can start with the arms and hands. Now, obviously, the further you can actually rotate your shoulders and the further back you can get your arms, the longer the path is back to the impact position, and therefore the more base speed you can actually generate, which will then be multiplied by the release. The later you can cause this release to happen, the better it's going to be, which means really you want the feeling of the quickest point in your golf swing being after the golf ball, not even at the golf ball. And most certainly you don't want to be accelerating the club from the top to the golf ball, because that's going to release your arms and hands when you really don't have any base energy to multiply. But what we're really talking about today is the use of the legs. And if you think about all movements with the legs in throwing actions, the athlete is going back into their trail leg and then coming up forward in and against the lead leg. Against the lead leg, because you have got to resist the forces that you are applying towards the target with equal and opposite forces away from the target. And this is the reason why you don't want to be going over the lead leg. If you get over the lead leg, you can't apply enough force backwards to apply force forwards. And that's really kind of the physical boundaries which you're actually applying to yourself. In the moment that you actually get over the lead leg, you've basically lost an awful lot of your power. So what the exercises you want to do, what I want you to actually get yourself doing, first of all, with your legs, is if you put your hands on your hips and make a turn to the right, getting the lead shoulder to go down a little bit, we're going to get that feeling of loading the inside of the trail foot, and then we're getting this kind of move. And rather than just kind of tilting the pelvis back, we're actually going to allow for a little bit more knee bend than usual. We're also going to get ourselves going around as far as we can without moving over to the lead side. And this is the feeling, especially without a golf club in my hands, that I'm actually moving back over the trail foot with my bum. And I'm almost got this feeling kind of like sitting here back on the toilet. It's not really a very great feeling. And I've got this feeling I'm just going to basically, if I'm not careful, just spin out of it backwards. And I think this is another reason why you're not doing this. You've seen all these old guys swinging their arms down and spinning out of it. And you don't want to look like that. But we need to load the power behind the ball in order to really release it up and through the golf ball. Once you've actually got this feeling, don't worry about it, but get the feeling of getting back behind, going up, but never really getting over that lead leg. You're going back, you're coming down, and you're staying behind the lead leg. There's got to be a boundary there, and you don't want to be moving over it. Getting that to actually work with your upper body, arms and hands, means getting yourself to the top of the swing, as I say, getting as much rotation as you can. You can even allow your trail knee to straighten a little bit, as getting the hips around a little bit more. That will get you a little bit more run up, basically. Then you're sitting into the downswing. And as you sit into the downswing, you've got to get your trail shoulder down. You need more than these latissimus, these back muscles, to be firing and pulling your trail arm down. As I've said before, the latissimus is attached in here on the bone underneath your bicep. And when you get that crunching, you're going to get that trail arm down, and it's still going to be holding elbow and wrist angle, despite you're basically having the feeling basically of pulling the club down with your lead arm, but you're just basically resisting the forces of the swing at that time. And then once you actually get round, let me get a little bit more off of over the ball here. As you get round to this position, you can see here in the front camera how I've got the hips open. I'm back feeling behind the golf ball. The elbow and the wrist are still hinged, and the release is a timed straightening both of the legs and the arms. And that's where the power is coming from, getting these two things to happen at the same time. The last thing you've got to be thinking about is keeping the head down. You don't want yourself to be going up, and it's very easy to go up and away from the ball. You should almost have the feeling as you go back, you're going down with the head, and as you come through, you're going down again, and as you release, you go down again. And these kind of 3 steps down towards the ground with your head is actually what's allowing you to keep the angle in the club for as long as possible and straighten out here through the ball. If you get your head moving up and away from the ball, you're going to start this kind of early releasing of the club, and although you'll kind of hit from behind it, you'll stay on your trail foot too much, you'll not get the energy through the golf ball. I know it feels like then your entire spine is doing that, but in truth, it's just bending. You are getting the turn of your hips to turn your lumbar spine, and all of this head down is coming out of your thoracic spine and your cervical spine as your head kind of tilts down towards your right or trail shoulder in that case. What you want to be practicing this with slow swings to start off with, trying just to get the feeling of the timing here, getting back as much as you can, turning around and releasing, staying down with that head and coming through. If you can get your body to get this feeling, you can generate more and more power, more and more club head speed, and then you can just let it rip. Don't hold back on it. If you can imagine a discus thrower, a shot put, holding back on it, why? You've got lots of clubs in your bag that you can hit the golf ball shorter with. This one's made to hit it as far as humanly possible. And you've got to get out there and train yourself to use everything that you have in your body to actually get this golf ball moving as far as you can out towards a target. You're not going to find them all, but they're going to be further than they were before. And as the statistics tell us, if you're 100 yards away from the green in the fairway, or 40 yards away from the green in the rough, you're still getting closer to the green or to the flag from the rough. And that's something I think Mr. DeChambeau and Mr. Johnson have been showing us now for a long time. Maybe we've got a few tricks to learn. Hope you liked it. As ever, if you did, smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The little bell will give you notifications the next time I post a video. Keep well, keep safe, get out there and practice it. See you next time.